Hello, in this video I'll be covering mass edit presets, what they are, how they might be useful to you, and perhaps go into a few more nitty-gritty details as well about how they operate that go outside of the generally used scope of the presets. Alright, so let's begin by discussing what the presets are. Presets are essentially just a storage location for all of the different types of placeables that you'll find on the map, which includes tokens, measurement templates, tiles, drawings, walls, lights, sounds, and journal notes. To access the storage location, you can use the scene control button on the left side here, bring up a new window, or make use of a shortcut, which is Shift+X by default, but which you can change by going to the configure controls and under mass edit, changing the open presets key binding. So when you first open this form, you'll find that it is empty. We can begin by dragging placeables in and start creating the presets. So if we drag this token in, you'll notice that a create presets label will pop up. And if you release over the form, the token will be returned to its original position. A new row will be created within the preset window, and a dialog will pop up, giving you an opportunity to modify the preset if you wish. Let's leave it as is for now. And what we can do now is drag this preset out to create the placeable that the preset itself was created from, or double click to generate a preview, and then click again anywhere on the canvas to actually finalize the position and spawn the placeable in. So as mentioned, this is possible for all placeable types. So if we take this tile, drag it in as we did with the token, we can now do the same. Drag it out or double click it to spawn it with a preview. This is even possible with walls. So if you take an end of a wall, drag it in, and you can create a preset for that wall. So it's also possible to store multiple placeables at the same time, as long as they're of the same type. So if I select these three tokens and drag them all into the preset form together, what will be created now is a group of tokens as a form of a single preset. If I drag this out now, we'll spawn the three tokens that I dragged into it to create the preset. And if I double click it, you'll see a preview showing off all of the three tokens. So all of the placeables exist within their own category within the mass edit preset window. I've created a couple of token presets over here, but I can switch over to my tile category to see all of the presets that have been created from tiles. Same goes for walls. And if you go to the leftmost icon over here, which is a globe, you'll be able to view all of the presets across all of the different categories that you've created. Alright, let's get into all the various different controls available within the mass edit preset window. Once the preset has been created, you can continue managing it from there. For example, you can right-click any preset to access various context options, the simplest of which is delete, which will simply delete the preset. You can also edit details about the preset, open journal, which I will go a bit deeper into in the later section of the video, but just leave it as is for now. We can duplicate the preset, generating a copy of it. We can export the preset as JSON, which will generate a JSON file which can then be re-imported using a header button at the top of the window over here. Or we can export the preset to a compendium, which relates to the open journal over here and which we'll also be covering in the later section of the video. It is also actually possible to select multiple presets at the same time. So if you control click, shift left click around, you'll be able to select multiple presets. With multiple presets selected, all of these different context options will now affect all of the selected presets. If I click delete, both of the selected presets will have been deleted, will get deleted. And if I click edit with multiple presets selected, I'll be able to edit details about all of the selected presets. So I can change all their preset names, will it edited, change the thumbnail, or even edit the data for all of the currently selected placeables, or the presets. If I select both of these and change the name to Goblin edited, and now drag these out, you'll see that the name has been changed as per my edit. So the data editing is only available if you're selecting presets of the same type. For example, if I select a wall, click edit, I'll have the edit wall option available here. But if I select a wall and a token, that option will no longer be available. So presets can be organized either in alphabetical or manual order, as you would see with the Compendiums in the Foundry. You can toggle this button over here to swap between manual and alphabetical sorting. In manual sorting, you can either drag around single placeables to change their positioning, or you can select multiple and move them all together. You can also create folders that will behave very similarly to the Compendium folders in Foundry. Let's name this folder A. You'll find that there are a bunch of familiar options, such as the folder name, the folder color, the sorting mode used within the folder, but you also see this number of new options available that you don't see with the Foundry ones. And this visible in option controls exactly where the folder will show up when you click on any of these categories. So by default, every folder will be visible in the all category, the global category. We can also select them to be visible, for example, in the token category, or all categories if you wish. So let's select it for all category now for a moment, and token. Let's create it. We'll create ourselves a folder, and you'll see that if we swap around now between different categories, the folder will appear and disappear as per your selection when creating the folder. You can click the folder and then quickly edit it and change these options if you wish. With the folder created, then you can begin start dragging placeables into that folder. You can of course also nest folders. If I create folder B, I'm able to now drag it into folder A, and now have myself a nested folder. As you briefly saw, when you right click a folder, you can delete it, and you can also choose to export it to a compendium. So the next thing I wanted to show off is the brush tool. You shall find available to the right side of all of the presets. What the brush tool allows you to do is to change your cursor into a brush and then change or apply the preset to any placeable that you click or drag over. For example, if I was to click on this token over here, see that that particular goblin got transformed into that of the preset. So if I drag the preset out, you can see what the token in the preset looks like. And so if I brush over any tokens on the map, they get transformed into that preset. So I find this tool particularly useful when editing walls, for example. So I have this map that actually comes with the Bailey Wiki's free asset module, and that I kind of slightly modified to have all of the walls be the same in this particular mansion. And now I'm going to use all of these pre-configured presets for doors, basic walls, and windows to kind of paint in walls and windows. So if I choose the door here, I can choose to change all of these different walls into walls. Or walls into doors, rather. Maybe we'll set up a bunch of doors, perhaps some windows. Perhaps this will want to be see-through. Or here. Any windows in here, but these. So yeah, I found this pretty useful. There's really not much use to dragging out walls, in my opinion. But in combination with this brush tool, I feel like it makes the editing of walls within scenes a little bit easier. Saves a little bit of time. Alright, so I thought I'd show off a couple of uses for presets that I personally employ, and one of those is the setup of various different light sources. One in particular is torch, which I hear a lot of people actually want to do. So I have pre-configured a torch light that I can just quickly drag out onto the map as and when needed, configured with the correct distances, light, color, what have you. So I have one for the lantern as well, with the hood down, candle, a lamp, a bullseye lantern, as well as the one for a light spell, for example. Also use presets with drawings to mark points on the map. So if I have need of something to mark on the map, I quickly drag out this X to point at a particular location on an overview map. Also have presets for various sort of spells. So for example, if I want to drop a fireball, mark down an entangle. There's one for burning hands. Or just a quick and convenient way to drop those down. And of course also have a bunch of ambient sounds that I may want to quickly drop, maybe horse hooves and whatnot. I haven't set up those now, but you can see it's just as easy to drag out ambient sounds out onto the map as well. So another common use is to kind of carry around your party, your player tokens. So if you're ever going to a new scene and wish to drop all of your player tokens down, you can just quickly double click your PC party preset here and drop all of your players in. Alright, so let's talk about some of the controls of the mass edit form that I've yet to mention. So, of course, you can perform searches using the search bar to quickly identify your presets. Already shown the folder creation, but I haven't yet mentioned these controls to the top right here. So all of these concern not so much the presets, but rather the form itself. So first of all, this lock icon. So this icon is used to control the currently set default category. And what the default category means is that whenever the preset form is open, the form will default to that particular tab at the top there. So if I untick this lock icon over here, you'll notice that if I go to a particular layer, for example measure templates, and open up the form, I will be automatically put into the measure template category. If I go to drawings, I'll be put into drawings. If I go to lights, I'll be put into lights. Well, but let's see, for example, at the moment I'm working with sounds. I want to stick with sounds. I can click this lock icon to lock the sounds in and make it the default category. So now when I close down the form and go to a different layer such as tiles and open up the form, see I'm still being kept in the sound tab, the sound category. Go to map nodes, open up the form, I'm still in the sound category. I can still manually move away from this category without any issue, but whenever the form is opened, I'll be put back into sounds. So that's it for the lock key over here. So the next one is to control automatic layer switching. So if I put this from here to make it a bit more obvious, so whenever this control is enabled and I select a different category in the mass edit form, such as let's say measure templates, you'll see that the game is automatically being switched to the measure template layer. If I click on tiles, I'm automatically put into the tile layer, and then applies to each category. If I disable this control, this automatic switching will no longer happen. So another consequence of the switching is that if I, for example, go now manually to the measure template layer, but then I drag out a tile onto the map, the module will once again automatically put me into the tile layer. If I disable this control, we go to the wall layer, and now drag out the tile, you see that the module no longer automatically is putting me into the tile layer. Alright, so the third and final control in this row is concerning compendiums, which actually will also get into these context options here, which are open journal and export to compendium. So behind the scenes, every single preset is actually a journal entry, a journal document. That's why you can right-click a preset and open journal, which will bring up the journal that this preset is actually being represented by. And I can interact with this as I would any normal journal. So I could, for example, create a page called description. This is an outro file. Save it. Close it down. And now when I reopen it, see, all of my changes have been saved, and this behaves exactly as would a normal journal entry. So these journal entries by default exist within a hidden compendium that is out of your view. But for this sort of showcase video, I've actually revealed it, and it is visible here. So it's called Mass Edit Presets Main. If I was to click on it, you'll find a bunch of different journal entries inside of here, which when opened using the Mass Edit preset form, actually are translated into presets. So the module is capable of working from within any compendium, as long as it's of type journal entry. And you can switch between these compendiums by clicking on this gear icon at the top. So I'm currently working from within the clean presets compendium. So if I was to open that up, go to all, you'll see that there is a one-to-one correspondence between what journal entries are being created in this compendium and what is visible within the Mass Edit preset form. You really shouldn't be manually editing or messing with these compendiums. All of the processing, sorting, creation, and deletion should be handled through the Mass Edit preset form. But just to showcase that the Mass Edit is actually being connected to and is working from within a journal entry compendium. So as you can see, I have a lot of different preset compendiums, and the module is actually capable of displaying all of them within the preset window. And this is what this third icon is about. It displays all of the compendiums that are not the current working compendium. If I was to click that, I'll scroll down to the bottom, all of the external compendiums are suddenly showing up here, which I can open up, look into, I can drag out things out of and spawn. If I go to, for example, let's see, measure templates here. If I was to delete all of these, could try and find some here in the external compendium. I can copy them in to my working compendium. Then I can then edit and do whatever I want with. So these external compendiums, even though they're displayed here, you can't actually drag out presets out of them, as in to drag into different folders or whatnot. The only operations you can perform is open journal, copy, which will copy them to the current working directory, and export them as JSON and export to another compendium. if you actually want to do work within those compendiums, you first need to unlock them. And then if you click the gear icon at the top, it'll be available as one of the options that you can switch over to and make into a current working directory. There you go. And after you made them into a working directory, then you can proceed and create folders, delete folders, and manage your presets as you would normally. So it's actually one of the ways to create a shared sort of preset compendium between all of your different worlds. I'll link packaging guides for Foundry modules down at the bottom, and it's one of the ways to create a shared compendium. And that compendium, if you point to your mass edit module to that compendium, you'll then be able to sort of sync all of your changes and keep all of your presets when you're swapping worlds. Right, so far you've seen me spawn just single placeables or groups of the same type of placeable. And it is actually impossible to spawn placeables of many different types at the same time. To get around that restriction, you would need to make use of the integration that the module has with the token attacher module. For those who are not aware, the token attacher module allows you to attach any placeable, maybe a tile, measure template, drawing, what have you, to a token. So for example, if I was to place this token inside of this tile, let's see, position this measure template next to it. What the token attacher module allows me to do is to open up this interface for the token, select a tile, and attach this tile to the token. And if I wanted to, I also attach this measure template to the token. And now when I move the token around, you see that both the tile and the measure template follows them. And now that they're attached that way, you can create presets from it. So if I was to select the token and drag it in, Goblin, this created preset now consists of the token, the tile, and the measure template. So if I was to drag it out, you'll see that all of these elements get spawned. If I double click it, you'll be able to see a preview for all three as well. Alright, so every preset that you've seen be created so far have been whole, as in they contain all of the data for that placeable. So if I was to drag in this goblin and create a preset from it, the resultant preset for this goblin contains all of the data needed to recreate this token, meaning it has the token name, display name, represented actor. All of this data that you see on the form is stored within this preset. Meaning that if I use the brush icon and I was to click on any of these tokens, all of this data that was needed to recreate this token over here is being applied to this token, meaning that it gets completely transformed into this token that I created the preset from. However, the module allows you to create only partial presets, presets that only consist of specific pieces of data. For example, if I was to open up a mass edit form using Shift+E, this particular token, I could now modify this token or modify specific fields or select them using these checkboxes over here and create a preset from all these selected and modified fields. So let's say I want to create a preset that only changes the token's tint color. If we go into under appearance, go under tint color, let's say I want to paint them pink. So this is the only field selected at the moment. Now if you open up the preset from within the mass edit form, you'll notice this new button added to the very top of it. And if I click this button, it will generate a preset using the currently selected fields on the form. If I just call this tint pink, let's choose an appropriate icon for it. There you go. This preset that I've just created under tokens now only consists of the tint color. If I was to drag this token out, you'll see that it will spawn around just a generic token with generic data in it, but the tint color being set to pink. And if I use the brush tool and drag over existing tokens, you'll see that their image, their scale, their size, everything about them remains the same with the exception of the tint color, which is now being applied to them. So it is a useful way to create brushes, especially when combined with, for example, the premium feature that allows randomization. So if I was to edit this preset, go to the tint color and assign a random tint color using the premium randomization feature, click apply, apply. And if I was to use this brush icon now, you'll see that the colors now get randomized. I can do the same, for example, with names or even images. So let's say I want to assign random names to each of these tokens. So let's give them all goblin names, a bunch of them. Apply, and perhaps give them some random images too. Let's select a bunch of, and let's just select all of them, why not? Click apply, apply. Now this preset, what it does, it changes to the tint color to random tint, and it applies random name as well. Like that. Start clicking around, you see that all of them get assigned random color of tint, random image, and a random name, which is actually not visible at the moment. Let me correct that. Let's display their name, always for everyone. Here we go. And if I click around now, you see that indeed the name, the image, and the tint all get affected. But the other data is still being left untouched. So for example, the resource bars are remaining the same and are not being impacted by it because of this partial way that I created a preset. And this does not have to apply to tokens alone. If you go and edit any tile, so if I create a tile, open up a mass edit form for it, I could pick particular details about the tile, go to the preset form, and create preset just from these selected elements. Alright, so as the last thing, I just wanted to mention that mass edits come with an API that allows you to create presets, retrieve them, and spawn them. So the most useful of these three is going to be spawn presets. You can read up on each of these API on the module's GitHub page, but just to kind of show off one of the main ones that you'll probably be interested in, mass edit spawn preset allows you to spawn presets with previews. So what you saw on the forms before, when you double click a token, or a preset rather, this preview is being generated using the spawn preset API behind the scenes, which generates all of the previews and changes your mouse icon into this crosshair. For example, I have created this macro. It uses the get presets API to retrieve all of the presets stored within the common light sources folder. So it is this folder over here. It creates a user interface, then spawns them using this mass edit spawn preset API. So if I activate the macro, you'll see that it creates this API, not API, but rather a UI with all of these different light sources that you can then click on, for example, bullseye lantern, then spawn it. So one of the useful features about this spawn preset API is also that it can be executed by your players. As long as there's an active GM in the world, you can provide them with a macro such as this, which would allow them to spawn their own torches, their own lights, their own templates, sounds, drawings, what have you. This even works with token attacher prefabs as well. So if you have token attacher created prefabs, tokens that have attached elements to them such as tiles and measure templates, these can also be spawned using the mass edit spawn preset API by both GMs and players. But yes, as mentioned, if you want to read up a bit more about them, documentation is available on the module's GitHub page. Alright, so just wanted to close out by thanking all my supporters, especially the ones at the top right there who've been sticking out the longest. Thank you very much. I hope to continue to be able to do this, but we'll see how hurt I'll be after V12 releases and after all of the all-nighters I need to pull. But yeah, have a good one. Hope you have fun using these modules and these new features. Yeah, bye bye.